I'm putting the pro back in program, baby. By my freaking program. Fitness guy. Hey.
Today we are going to be reviewing a video from Bald Omni Man. Bald Omni Man is a pretty dope fitness guy, expert, instructor, coach, you know, what have you, here on YouTube. I like a lot of his stuff. I listen to a lot of his stuff. It's really cool. I like the way he breaks stuff down. You know, he understands exercise variate, and he's a good channel to listen to. This video is called Upright Rows Are the Worst and Most Dangerous Exercise. Okay, a little bit clickbaity, maybe. Okay, we're gonna see though.
Upright rows are not a bad exercise. In fact, they are a pretty good exercise that build all three heads of your shoulder, your upper back, your yoke, and your grip if you use them strapless.
Okay, yeah, right off the bat, I'm going to have to agree with that. It is a great movement, upright row. I do think that they're fantastic. They work all three heads of the delt, the anterior, the lateral, and the posterior, which is behind in the backside. It's like pretty much the only exercise, I think, in existence. Pretty much the only exercise in existence that does that, if I'm correct. So that's pretty amazing. It also works your upper traps, and it also works your upper and mid back, depending on how you do the row. And there's a kind of a fine line that blurs between a row and a snatch, and we'll get into that. And the snatch works the same muscles that the upright row does, but there's a better, bigger benefit to it. So I think that's the one you should be doing personally, but we'll get into that soon.
I think a gradual introduction to any range of motion that isn't jamming joints on joints is going to be something that makes you more well-rounded and can be the potential thing that...
Just from listening to this little section here, it sounds like what he's saying. There's a discrepancy with doing upright rows. Do it like this. In your shoulders, you see that V shape, and you do them with hands in together, you're gonna feel a difference in your shoulder.
The way to do the upright row incorrectly is with a close grip where you bring your hands up higher than chest height. This causes internal rotation of the upper arm bones, and that can compromise your rotator cuff muscles, leaving you to shoulder injury, to shoulder injury, to shoulder injury.
Try that right now and see how that feels, and see if you feel a difference in stress in your shoulder joint pulling to here versus pulling to here, right? So what I think what he's really saying here, pulling to here slowly and gradually can have some benefits and can help you from getting injured in that position. The nature of that position is stress, extra stress on your shoulders and your rotator cuff. Yeah, I know a thing or two about shoulder injuries. Your shoulders are extending up over that 90 degrees, like almost like you're flapping like a fucking bird up to your ears, right? And the rotation, that rotation is actually sort of dangerous and not really meant for your shoulder joints. So it sounds like that's what he's saying. What it sounds like he's saying to me is easing into any movement, potentially dangerous on your ligaments and tendons, as long as you do it slowly with a slow to moderate progressive overload in terms of the resistance you're using with that incorrect motor pattern, then it's okay. It could be okay and possibly advantageous. And I don't really agree with that. Now, if you look here, you'll see how he's cleaning that weight up. Notice the width of his hands, right? He doesn't have them here. He has them here. They're more shoulder length, right? He's obviously using a lot more weight because he's got a little bit more stability there. You know, a sumo stance, anything wide usually is a base of power. You ever see a sumo wrestler? They'll spread their legs out real wide and get down low. Like whenever you're doing exercises, you have more power when you're wide. You know, wide grip bench, close grip bench. You know, you lose a little bit of power there, and it's more directed towards your triceps. Well, the same concept here. You know, a little wider, then you can go a little heavier, right? And it's still working your anterior, lateral, and posterior delts, right? All at the same time, but you're using more weight, right? So that's the thing. Growing bigger is about progressive overload, right? Yes, volume is a factor, but if you want to get bigger and stronger, if you can progressively overload your exercises in some fashion, including with the amount of weight that you're using on those exercises, you can grow bigger and stronger, right? So if someone's doing upright rows for sets of 10, at I don't know, 80 pounds versus somebody doing upright rows, but the amount of weight and same amount of sets, same amount of reps, but the weight that they're using is maybe 135, and they're going to get a little bit more growth out of that, right?
A good rule of thumb: with any extended range of motion exercise or with a movement pattern that you have not done before, if you can do it with no load, with no pain, you can add 5 pounds and the same thing is going to be true. It's not going to hurt, and so on and so on. It's about that gradual introduction to that new range of motion or that new movement pattern.
Okay, so I'm not the only person that thinks like this. Some of you guys may be aware of Dr. Jim Stefani. I think he's a great fitness coach, scientist, amazing fitness guy in the fitness field. And he has a number of videos on that rotation and doing upright rows, the way that I'm telling you guys to do upright rows. And I don't think it's ever good to practice a movement in a way that is unsafe just because you can do it at a lighter weight. That stress adds up. It's accumulative, right? Accumulative fatigue. And if you're doing something incorrectly with low weight, you may not feel that initially, but that doesn't mean that that's not affecting the cartilage and the joints in your body. Over time, you may have problems. So I totally disagree with that. And I would say never do upright rows like that with that close grip. Don't do that. It's not good for your shoulder health versus coming out wide, a little wider, and doing your upright row where you can still get all of the same benefits, right? And you decrease the chance, just pulling to here versus to here and having that wide grip, of ever having any issues. Why would you do anything else? Doesn't make much sense to me.
So how do you make upright rows the most comfortable that they could possibly be? You move in the scapular plane. And that's just the GigaBrain term for you move in the direction of your scapula. When you move and orient your elbows in that scapular plane, number one, it just lets you use your shoulders, your upper back better, more efficiently. You get a better mind-muscle connection and a better contraction. So it's just better for bodybuilding.
This is what I mean about accumulative fatigue, right? If you notice, these lifters here, I'm not sure that these are Olympic lifters here. These must be bodybuilders that are doing the same movements with close grip as an upright row. Look at the amount of resistance they have loaded on that bar. They got one plate, or maybe less than a plate, maybe a 225s or maybe a 235s in the bar, right? Or maybe even less than that. They can't use much weight. But even when they're using light weight, that doesn't mean that the movement is still not dangerous. When you do it that way, pulling up to your chin, and just because you don't feel it today or the next week doesn't mean accumulatively over time, you're not doing damage to your rotator cuff. The amount of weight matters too, right? Because that may increase or decrease the speed of the accumulated fatigue and wear and tear on your joints. And you may not know that there's an issue. Right? You may just keep doing it and say, oh, I'm doing fine. It's okay. So I'm going to continue to lift and do the same movement.
The way to do the upright row incorrectly is with a close grip where you bring your hands up higher than chest height. My version of the upright row is done with a wider than shoulder width grip, and you only bring the bar up to about chest height, to where your upper arms are parallel with the floor. Once you've gone this high, there's no point in going any higher, and then you're gonna lower the bar back to the start position and repeat for reps. This way, you maximize shoulder development without any risk of shoulder injury. And there was a study done on this method that shows when you do the upright row with a wider than shoulder width grip, it not only helps to hit the front delts and the middle delts, but also the rear delts. That's right.
And that's why you can't load it heavy. Whereas you can just widen your grip a little bit, and then you can go 300 or 2 something. Now you think you're gonna grow your traps more with 300 pounds or 225 pounds or 400 pounds, right? Or are you going to grow them more with 135? Are you going to grow your shoulders more with 135? Right? Which one do you think is going to grow your shoulders more? This is why I advocate for high snatches over upright rows, firstly. But secondly, even if I was going to do an upright row, I would still widen my grip because of the factor of accumulative fatigue over time. I'm still stressing my joint in a way that's not really healthy when I pull up to underneath my chin. It's adding too much pressure to my rotator cuffs, right? That's the whole reason why you can't go heavy in the movement. The movements that build you the most are the movements that you can go heavy in, right? The squat, the deadlift, the overhead press, right? The snatch, the high snatch. That is why they build you more. So they would be better for bodybuilding. So any movement that's going to hit all three heads of the deltoid and the traps, just like the upright row does, but done in a wide grip, gives you the advantage and pull particularly to the clavicle here, to the sternum, and to your mid chest and not up here, is going to allow you to lift more weight, which in turn is going to help you to build more muscle, right? And it's going to be safer on your shoulder joints because you're pulling to here versus all the way up to here, and your hands are not here, they're here. Which is why I would say upright rows are never going to be as good as a snatch, especially when you do them correctly. But if you are going to do them, widen your grip, okay? And pull to your sternum or your mid chest. Do not pull to underneath your chin, whatever you do, and do not do it with your hands together. You're going to grow your shoulders better because you have more weight. And you also are hitting all three heads with that movement when you're doing upright. But you get more benefits because you're going heavier. So then you get more overload on your traps, right? Your mid back. You're more efficiently executing your goal of getting big shoulders by using that variation of a row of a wider grip and not pulling up to underneath your chin. And you're also decreasing the possibility of injury.
Once you've gone this high, there's no point in going any higher, and then you're going to lower the bar back to the start position and repeat for reps. This way, you maximize shoulder development without any risk of shoulder injury. And there was a study done on this method that shows when you do the upright row with a wider than shoulder width grip, it not only helps to hit the front delts and the middle delts, but also the rear delts. That's right. If you do the upright row properly, it can hit all three deltoid heads. That's one of the only shoulder exercises there is that can hit all three heads.
Everyone looks at it a little different, but I think the way I'm looking at it right now is pretty good. So I'm going to share that with you guys. And maybe it'll help, maybe it won't, who knows. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel. You guys know the deal. I'm trying to grow the channel. I'm about to start doing videos all the time, literally on everything. I love this. This is something that I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I hope you guys, join the channel and follow that, and, subscribe to the channel. Send me any questions that you have. If you have any thoughts on this, what are your thoughts on rows? If you do rows, if you haven't done rows, have you done snatches? Have you done any Olympic lifts? Whatever your questions are, whatever your comments are, please leave them. Leave a like below. Thanks very much. And talk to you later, y'all.
Yes, sir.